start the video. We're going to go here. So good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to start the recording. I had intended to go live on the video. We're going to go here. So good evening. Second. Thank you for joining us. There we go. I had intended to go live on Facebook. For whatever reason, the connection is not working. So we are live on YouTube. So give me just a second. I want to share that YouTube link with the Facebook community so they can watch. And tonight we're going to be talking all about IBS. It's IBS Awareness Month. So 1 second here as I get this going. Thank you for your patience. So that's going to go out here, and then I'm going to share it one other place. Guys, if you don't have a glass of water, I would say take a couple minutes while we're doing this before we get talking about IBS, and get yourself a cup of water. We have about 45 minutes or so of content. Okay, group. There we go. All right. And back here. All right. So again, thank you for joining us. I am Tiffany, GF Mom Certified. Tonight we're going to be talking about combating IBS. And what is IBS? What are the ways that you can combat IBS? And if you've been diagnosed with IBS in the course of your life, like myself, we're going to talk about some lifestyle things that you can do to relieve some of your symptoms. And I will also be sharing a little bit about my story. I want to take a minute though, and we are recording this. We are also live streaming to YouTube right now, and I've shared those links out to Facebook. So I do understand that there will be people that have questions. If you have questions and you're on any of the live streams, please put your questions in the comments. And then I will have time later tonight and tomorrow to go back, answer any questions, contact anybody who needs assistance, or follow up with anybody that might have further questions. All right. Let's see. Life goes on. Give me 1 second. We're going to get this up. We're going to get the slides up. We don't need to see all this stuff. We need slides, which are here. And should be good to go. Okay, so again, we are talking combating IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So first of all, let me introduce myself. If we have never met, again, my name is Tiffany Hinton. I am a certified functional medicine coach. I am a mom of 3 that are in elementary school. And yes, they are at home. We are doing homeschooling. And it has been an adventure these last 5 weeks. It is week 5 of us being on a stay-at-home order in Illinois. I'm a business owner. I run GF Mom Certified, and we have Thrive Clean as one of our sub brands. Pam Jordan has actually called me a super mom. She is another persona brand in the gluten-free world. And the reason she called me a super mom is because we had 3 kids in 3 years. We had 3 in diapers all at the same time. And then when my youngest was about 6 weeks old, I started traveling with the gluten-free marketing group on their expos all around the country. And it was fun. It was adventurous. And that is where the Supermom title comes from. I'm a gluten-free lifestyle expert. And again, a certified functional medicine coach. My story starts, and I'm going to share my story now with you. And then we're going to talk about irritable bowel syndrome, because irritable bowel syndrome is part of my story. My story starts when I was around 14 years old, but it actually started before that. So by the time I was 14, I was having irritable bowel syndrome symptoms. I was having gas, I was having bloating, I had acid reflux, I had problems with constipation, and I was just having all of these gastro issues. And what had happened in my life when I was 11 years old had triggered my autoimmune diseases to turn on. And I didn't know it was autoimmune at the time. My doctors didn't prescribe it as autoimmune. By the time I was 18, I was diagnosed with IBS. I was told after having 2 colonoscopies my senior year of high school, I had bleeding coming from my butt anytime I had gas that I was passing. I had internal sores on my large intestine. They told me that I had irritable bowel syndrome. They had ran tests at that time, and we're talking, my goodness, 24 plus 25 years ago, right? So medical information 25 years ago. They couldn't diagnose me with anything. They didn't see anything in my blood work or any of the tests that they were running. So they told me I had IBS. Their suggestions 25 years ago was to eat more fiber. They suggested shredded wheat. They suggested I give up nuts. I give up anything that had seeds in it, particularly fruits that were seedy like kiwi and strawberries. And now looking back, as the medical community has evolved, the suggestions I have to share with you and the lifestyle I live every single day is so much different than when I was diagnosed with IBS 25 years ago. What I will tell you is that if you currently are living with an IBS diagnosis and you have not updated your treatment plan and you are living with information that is 25, 30, 40 years old, tonight, this information will, I hope, help you and help you find a little bit more relief in your lifestyle. So what is IBS, right? Irritable bowel syndrome, often referred to as IBS, is a chronic gastrointestinal disorder. It is characterized by a host of different digestive dysfunctions and discomforts, such as the abdominal pain, the cramping, the gas, the bloating, the ingestion, the constipation, the indigestion, right? The acid reflux. The other thing you might feel is you have like rubber bands inside your stomach holding your guts together, or they hurt when they pull. You might have stabbing knife pains, or you perhaps have what I had, is where my colon would seize and I would feel like I had a Charlie horse in my gut. And I couldn't figure out how my calf muscle had gotten into my lower stomach and why was it causing these Charlie horses. And one of the things that we did later learn is that I was not drinking enough water. So now, I don't know if you can see my little picture, but I have quart jars of water that I drink every day. And the other thing I'll share with you is I was diagnosed with Crohn's 20 years after the IBS diagnosis. So with my Crohn's disease, I understand why my colon seizes. I understand why it gets irritated. And I understand that it is an inflammatory autoimmune condition. But at the time when I was diagnosed with IBS, I didn't understand any of that. So I took their recommendations. I started eating dry shredded wheat out of a sandwich bag. I started increasing as much fiber as I could. That meant more corn. It meant more of these foods that now, as you learn tonight, should not have been part of my daily diet. But at the time, I didn't know any better. And my IBS continued to get worse. And like I said, I had bleeding intestines and I had some other stuff going on. For some, IBS may mean mapping their day out around public restrooms. It might limit their dating life. It may limit your social life outside of even dating. You might avoid going to unfamiliar places if you don't know where the bathrooms are, or you might avoid parties or family functions because you just don't feel comfortable pooping in public, or you may even avoid travel because you know that you don't want to get on an airplane and then there'll only be that tiny bathroom that you have to wait in line for. So it can cause a lot of different disruptions and inconveniences, really. You can also have increased anxiety, depression, and also other emotional and social professional issues due to IBS being in your life, right? And there are many, many different reasons why it could cause emotional and mental issues, from you just being constipated and the toxins in your gut sending different toxins up to your brain, causing you to have mental issues. But professional life can also be impacted depending on what you do for your profession. You can't necessarily be, a delivery driver if you've got to constantly stop and go to the bathroom, or a long over-the-road truck driver, right? That could be a problem. Same thing. I talked to a doctor a few years ago. She was a pediatric surgeon who was having to wear an adult diaper because of surgery she was doing, and she couldn't control her bowels. And sometimes during surgery, she would poop herself. And this is a grown woman. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot even believe this. And yet it's true. And yet at the same point, I wanted to do everything I knew to help her. And it was an interesting thing. But so IBS can definitely impact your professional life. So let's let's define functional for a minute, right? Doctors define IBS as a functional gastrointestinal disorder because although the GI tract isn't functioning properly, there is no physical imaging or any damage that they can see to cause them to do any further testing. They may not see erosion. They may not see irritation of the colon or large intestine. This attitude that they cannot see it can lead to and encourage the lack of initiative in further research from the doctor. It can lead to further frustration from us as the patients because they think we're lying or they think we're just crazy. And it can also lead to a lack of people wanting to search for a cure for IBS and instead questioning the cause and not wanting to question the cause of the dysfunction. Instead, what most medical professionals are trained to do in the GI world for IBS is to prescribe medications to alleviate the symptoms. And I was one of those patients. I was prescribed at the time Coldicort, Azicol, and prednisone to alleviate my symptoms. Part of those were enemas. Some of those were oral medications, and they were supposed to help the colon just allow food to pass and not really to absorb anything. Therefore, I would have no inflammation. And they did that very, very well because personally, I became malnutritioned on top of having an undiagnosed autoimmune condition, which resulted in me having 14 years of infertility issues as I tried to fix my cells. So the difference is functional medicine doctors, when you work with a functional medicine doctor, however, they work to discover the why behind the disease. This is what I really love. They look for the root cause and they keep testing and they keep looking and they keep questioning until they can figure out what is the true cause of why you're feeling the discomfort. They want to know the why behind the disease. As IBS is a collection of different symptoms specific to the individual, the root cause will also likely be different for everyone. It will not be the same. And ignoring this diversity of the disorder of IBS is dangerous because we're leaving things, underlying causes untreated. My Crohn's disease went undiagnosed for a very, very long time. And then my celiac disease went undiagnosed for over 20 some years. From the time that I had symptoms and I had bleeding intestines, which continued to bleed and create mucus. And sometimes you would have you would wipe right from going to the bathroom and there would be mucus. So it looked like I had snot coming out my butt instead of my nose. From the time I was told I had IBS until the time I was truly diagnosed with celiac disease was over 15 years. So I took medication for 15 years, which then caused other conditions because we never treated the root problem. We never treated the real cause. And that is what I'm talking about when we talk about if you ignore the diversity of the disorder, it can be really dangerous because then we're ignoring the cause, which can cause other issues in the body. And instead, we're just treating the pain or we're treating the constipation with things that maybe are not the proper treatment based on the person's condition. Okay. So functional medicine, I want to spotlight this for just a second. Functional medicine is it's actually changing the way that we do healthcare. It's empowering patients to better understand the imbalances in their body. We're empowering patients to understand medicine more. We're empowering patients to understand that the body works as a system and that everything works together and that the root of most of everything that's going wrong is in your gut. Okay. Functional medicine uses conventional medicine practices for acute care while incorporating complementary healthcare approaches for the prevention and treatment of the chronic issues. Functional medicine differs from other medical models used today due to its defining principles of personal care specific to the individual and the focus on the cause of the discomfort rather than simply the symptoms. And the third one that differentiates it is the deep-seated trust in the patient's body to self-regulate. We honestly believe that your body has what it needs, that God gave you what you needed so you could heal if you gave your body the right nutrients. And we've seen it time and time again. There's actually a live broadcast earlier on Facebook with Dr. Tom O'Brien and Dr. Terry Walls, two primary examples of mentors and people that I follow in functional medicine who have time after time found that food can heal the body, that toxins can contribute to the issues, and just cleaning and doing some of the stuff we're going to talk about, like the 4 R's, makes a huge difference in your health. So let's talk about some of these common discomforts, right? IBS is one of the most underdiagnosed diseases, by the way, in the US, because people just don't want to come forward and talk about poop. They don't want to come forward and tell you they haven't pooped for 4 days, they haven't pooped for 6 days, or they don't want to come forward and tell you that they go to the bathroom and they're there for an hour because it just won't stop and they can't get off the toilet because they just can't stop it, right? They don't want to talk about that. And for me, as a high schooler, with being a senior in high school, I didn't want to tell people that I had to wear a liner in my underwear because every time I farted, there was blood. Nobody wanted to know that. That was disgusting back then. I mean, it still is disgusting even now, but I'm more comfortable talking about it. So there's some of these obstacles. Studies are actually showing that the prevalence of the IBS ranges up to about 25% of Americans in the US probably actually are dealing with IBS. And it's unclear the accuracy of the figures, however, because of the stigma around it and because nobody really wants to talk about their bathroom habits. So obstacles, people are not necessarily consulting their physician. Patients are being also, then if you do consult your physician, being written off as experiencing a psychosomatic symptom, the attitude that digestive discomfort is normal. You know, my grandma had bathroom issues, my grandfather had stomach issues. This just runs in the family. It's just normal, right? And we're learning, even with COVID-19, there's a new normal. So take this as a time to say that your bathroom habits are not normal and get them investigated. So regardless, irritable bowel syndrome is one of the most common functional digestive disorders that we have. And there are reports that are estimating up to 96 million Americans suffer from IBS in their lifetime at some point. And only 7% of them actually are receiving proper diagnosis. The rest is either going misdiagnosed or untreated. And it's sad because it is a painful problem. It is an embarrassing problem. It's frustrating, and it's no place to live. It is not a place to live. It is not comfortable. So we're going to talk a little bit about why it's so difficult to diagnose. We talked about how you can't see it on a microscope or you can't see it on a scope, right? But IBS is diagnosed through a couple of different processes. But the main thing that they do to diagnose IBS is the process of exclusion. So in other words, they're doing extensive lab testing, blood work, stool samples, all these different tests. And they're doing experimentation and procedures to figure out what is truly wrong. And if they exclude everything that they know about, then they are classified under the IBS umbrella, which is really not a disease then. It's a syndrome. It's a whole bunch of symptoms. And they had nothing to tie your symptoms to. They couldn't link it to Crohn's. They couldn't link it to celiac disease. They couldn't link it to anything else. Therefore, they put you in the IBS category. A more straightforward diagnosis is basically because atomically and structurally, there's no problem with your large intestine. There's no problem with your colon, yet you continue to complain of all of these things, right? And they are not able to necessarily see any chemical disorders or physical disorders either. Therefore, you would fall into the IBS category and you would live in this umbrella of people that have all of these symptoms. In reality, if you start to see a functional medicine practitioner, they would look at all of your tests again and they would start to do some additional research so if they could try to find the root cause of the dysfunction. And this is one reason why I would encourage you, if you are suffering with IBS and you are suffering with issues around your gut, to pick up the phone and call me or call another functional medicine doctor. We have plenty of time to help you. We're all at home, just like you are right now. And we can do virtual appointments. We can do video chats. We can order tests and you can have stool sample test kits sent to your house and you can mail them back in. Some of these tests you don't have to go into the office for, and there can be some diagnostic work done while you're at home to help bring you relief. Okay, so tests and more tests and more tests. This was my life for a long time. I had 4 colonoscopies before. I think I was a sophomore in college. I was constantly going in for blood work. They couldn't tell me what was wrong. They didn't know that I was deficient in anything. And yet I still came in and I would have blood, and yet they couldn't figure out why. Some of the diagnostic testing that can be used to identify IBS can include your medical history, your physical exam, comprehensive blood work, stool analysis. They can now do a sedimentation rate test. They can also do an upper endoscope along with your colonoscopy to look at your intestinal tract all the way. They can do IgG antibody testing, IgM antibody testing, IgE food allergy testing, and IgA antibody testing as well. And a lot of those antibody tests you can get through Vibrant Wellness on Dr. Tom's website, and I can help you with that. They can also do breath bacterial test if you're having IBS symptoms to help find the true cause of the issues. We're going to move, now that we have defined what IBS is, hopefully you have an understanding if you are in the IBS umbrella or you know that a doctor has already diagnosed you with IBS, and some of the stuff we just talked about lines up. We're going to talk about common causes of the actual syndrome, and then we're going to talk about ways and things you can do at home in your current lifestyle, changes you can make that can bring you relief. Okay, so let's talk about causes first, because some of these you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that could cause my constipation. I didn't realize that could cause me to have gas. Excuse me, but it's all very true. Okay, Lily has come to inform me that our produce is being delivered right now, and she's super excited. We have 2 trucks delivering. We're in the middle of a class, so I'll let you handle the produce. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about common causes. Let me go back here. So some of the things, just like everybody else that's probably experienced IBS, your case is highly individualized. It's not going to be the same as your grandpa's. It's not the same as your sister's. Each person is unique, just like our microbiome is unique. All of that needs to be looked at, right? And so you need to think about yourself as a unique person, as a unique human being, and what potentially are causing your irritable bowel syndrome problems. So although IBS is not formally classified as an autoimmune disease, it shares many of the same risk factors, potential causes, and complications of the inflammatory conditions we know today that come from irritable autoimmune conditions like celiac disease, like Crohn's disease, like MS, some of these others that are autoimmune, even fibromyalgia. So some of those causes overlap. And sometimes your irritable bowel syndrome is an early warning sign of an autoimmune disease. So you want to really not let it just think it's normal and let it just go. So things you can look at for common causes. Your diet. Is it a poor diet? Is it a standard American diet? Do you have leaky gut? Bacterial overgrowth in your system? Do you have yeast overgrowth? Do you have parasites? Do you have food intolerances? Have you used a lot of antibiotics during your life? Or are you getting toxic exposure from either your mercury fillings in your mouth, from your work environment, from your carpeting at home, from paint? We'll talk about different toxic exposures. Or do you have a chronic infection? Or is it just due to stress and psychology issues? And right now, a lot of people could be having irritable bowel syndrome conditions because their stress level is ridiculously high. We're being asked to do so much right now. Everything is like on our shoulders, and yet you're not allowed to leave your house. So then you look around your house and you're like, oh, and I should probably fix the screw on the cabinet, and I should probably clean the floor, and I should probably recaulk the tub. And then you're adding undue stress just by sitting there and looking around and being like, oh my gosh, it's falling apart around me, right? Don't get in that state. Pick up the phone and call somebody. But the extra stress that we have without turning on the news, just by being in the same location day in and day out without having a change of environment, can contribute to your irritable bowel syndrome conditions and symptoms. All right, so leaky gut. Leaky gut is something I talk about quite a bit. Leaky gut happens when the membrane that is supposed to keep our food in our intestinal tract and our blood outside opens up, and undigested food particles, microbiomes, toxins, and other things start to get into the bloodstream, right? They start to leak out through that membrane, through that gut barrier, and they get into the body. One of the most vital and basic duties of the cells that line our intestinal wall is to regulate this intestinal permeability. They're supposed to allow micronutrients through to get to the red blood cells, to nourish our cells and to help our bodies. They are not supposed to allow other undigested proteins and fats and other things that are not ready to get through. And sometimes the cells become damaged in the gut. One of those big damaging things is wheat that's been sprayed with a drying agent. Another big damaging thing that happens in our gut are the oh my goodness, transglutamine. Anyway, there's a, I'll look it up later. There's a product that they put in our food as a preservative that also wears away our gut, causes this damage, acts like sandpaper. And then they begin to break apart, and the barrier and the membrane allow the particles to travel through, and the gut is now leaking. And as this happens, your immune system starts to attack those substances because they're foreign, and it results in inflammation in the body. And then you are classified as somebody with leaky gut. Food intolerances, infections, stress, and age are all factors that affect the gut's permeability and the integrity, I can't say the word right now, of the membrane. The best way to address leaky gut syndrome is to participate in a functional medicine 4R program, either with a practitioner or with a functional medicine coach like myself. The 4R program, which we'll discuss it later in detail in the presentation, will help to clean and seal the leaky gut. I actually talked to somebody on the phone yesterday. Today I talked to somebody about food and how it was affecting their colon, but yesterday I talked to somebody around things that they could do to seal up their gut and foods they could eat to get rid of their leaky gut. SIBO. How many people have heard of SIBO? SIBO is a word that gets passed around quite a bit. Many people hear about SIBO. Studies actually are reporting that approximately 80% of people with IBS suffer from SIBO. SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So it occurs when there's an imbalance in your gut bacteria that results in an overgrowth of bacteria. The condition is often fueled by our diet. A diet heavy in sugar, alcohol, and refined carbohydrates. So that's your processed foods, right? Your sugar and refined carbs, and your alcohol is more sugar, is what fuels the SIBO and causes the strains of the bacteria to get overgrown and to take over the gut. The use of antibiotics, acid blocking medication, and steroids can also disrupt your gut flora and attract more bacteria to start even growing larger, and then you have a bigger overgrowth. SIBO can be diagnosed with a breath test, which is really cool. So you don't necessarily have to have a blood work. You don't have to collect your own poop. This can be done with a breath test. This test provides the information on the bacteria level in your body and the best treatment protocol that would be effective specifically for you. They need to know which bacteria is actually growing too big, right? We can't just classify it as any old bacteria. We need to know which one so we can choose the right treatment plan. The treatment for SIBO also includes the 4R program, dietary changes, and if needed, they will give you a prescription medication to help kill some of the bacteria, okay? SIBO itself can be painful. SIBO can happen to children or adults. So just know if you've got a kid that's constantly complaining of a stomach ache or having constipation issues, or their poop is this funny color, you might want to have them checked for SIBO, because IBS doesn't care how old you are. It just cares what you're doing and eating and doing for your body. Okay, another common cause is yeast. So yeast overgrowth is very similar to SIBO in the sense that in many cases, it causes same symptoms in IBS. It causes the bloating, it causes the gas, the constipation, the diarrhea. Yeast overgrowth can also cause you to get those little white sections on the corner of your mouth. So if you're somebody that's like, you look in the mirror and you've got those little white things growing on the outside of your mouth, you probably have too much yeast in your body, and you might want to look at doing some of our suggestions we're going to talk about later on tonight in this information session. So whether it's a yeast or a fungus overgrowth, it will respond because it will respond and create IBS because there is an imbalance in your gut flora. The most common form of yeast overgrowth is candida. So I know many of you have probably heard of candida. There's several different protocols you can do for candida treatment. Some are very successful, others are not. It just depends. And I actually know a functional medicine coach that I can pair you up if you are suffering from a yeast overgrowth who has done a candida protocol herself very, very successfully and has had great results for her and her husband. So if you need that and you're somebody that knows that you have a yeast overgrowth or a candida issue and you need a coach, then reach out and I'll get you connected to the lady that I know that works with candida. Okay. Let's see here. Where was I at with my notes? Okay. In excess, candida contributes to the breaking down of the intestinal wall, and that is a common characteristic of leaky gut. So if your candida gets to be excessive, it can also contribute to that barrier, that membrane breaking down, and then you having leaky gut as a result. This can also lead to a variety of other health complications and additional IBS symptoms, okay? Candida specifically feeds off sugar, and that is one of the most prevalent ingredients in our food in America. Here's a picture of bread, coffee. Both of those can have sugar in them, depending on which restaurant you were at. There's sugar in potato chips. There's sugar in so many different things, even kids' vitamins. The first or second ingredient is sugar or corn syrup, right? It's supposed to be a vitamin for a child, not a sugar pill. So really look into this, because if you are suffering from a yeast overgrowth, removing sugar can be a little overwhelming. And again, we are here to help you with that. Yeast levels can be tested through your blood, through your stool, or through a urine test. And so you can definitely do the stool testing already for candida, even though we are at home and you don't have to go to an office, okay? All right. The next one that could be contributing to IBS is parasites. Parasites are much more common than most people consider. And contrary to popular belief, you do not need to travel to a high-risk country or go to South America or Africa to get a parasite. You can actually get a parasite from your local grocery store because we're importing most of our produce. And since they are usually ingested, the most common issue that the parasite causes is digestive damage. They cause damage to the intestinal tract. They can compromise your nutrient absorption as well. And unfortunately, the healthy bacteria in the gut is not normally strong enough to defend against the rate that a parasite will reproduce. And so you need some additional support if you have a parasite. The long story short is the parasite can directly be harmful and often need additional care. We just talked about this to get rid of it. You can test for parasites mainly through stool samples, okay? Food allergies. Food allergies, this was my trigger and stress to my IBS because I had undiagnosed allergies that we had no idea were going on. Well, I guess I should have known, but I didn't know when I was growing up in junior high what an allergy response looked like. And because nobody I was growing up with had EpiPens or really had food allergies, nobody else identified what I was going through as an allergy. But in reality, I have 7 different food allergies. So for me, food intolerances and allergies and sensitivities were my big contributors, along with my stress of having to now have separation anxiety when my parents were separated, along with having to help raise my younger siblings because my mom started working 3rd shift. So all of that contributed to my own IBS symptoms, my own gastrointestinal issues that then continued on because they were misdiagnosed. So food intolerances, allergies, sensitivities can all contribute to significant digestive distress, and they can definitely contribute to your IBS symptoms. The part that is hard is that it can be very hard to detect a food allergy for a different number of reasons. One is that we all suffer differently. We might not all get a skin rash or have breathing issues, or maybe your rash looks like eczema or psoriasis, and so they classify it that way. Or maybe that rash is in your scalp, so they don't really see it because it's under your hair. Like there's so many different things that happen with allergies. Maybe you have cystic acne, and in reality, you have a food sensitivity. And that is another patient of mine who is highly allergic to cinnamon, but because it always appeared as cystic acne, they blamed it on hormones until she went through some food allergy patch testing. And now it's all gone. The cystic acne has completely disappeared. So you could suffer from symptoms that somebody else don't necessarily contribute to allergens or insensitivities. Elimination testing takes significant amount of time to do, so it can be super hard to do as you're detecting a food allergy. Symptoms of food intolerances can often be misinterpreted or classified as something else. Luckily, though, there are several ways for us to test if we suffer from food allergies. And we'll get more on that coming up, and we'll dive into a couple of them. So let's dive into a few of these testing that you can do if you are suffering from an intolerance or an allergy. These are like central to me because these were my causes to my IBS along with the stress. And so if they can't find SIBO, they can't find a parasite, they can't tell you that you have, Candida, then if you're still dealing with IBS and it's not diagnosed as celiac disease or Crohn's disease, then I'm going to highly suggest you go and get some antibody testing done through Vibrant Wellness, okay, and through a functional medicine practitioner. So your IgG is the first of many of the tests that they can run. It's one of the most abundant antibodies in our body. And it's found in all of our body's fluid. And it works as a protective mechanism against bacteria and viral infections. And testing levels for antibodies in the blood can be very incredible tools to indicate an adverse reaction to food. Now, your IgG is, so let's clarify for a second. An IgE is what they test for when they do a skin patch test and they're looking for an immediate response to an allergen. They're doing an IgE test on your back, okay? The IgE test was created in the 1950s. I learned this week. And it's a very great test, but there are additional testing now. And there's so much that is being done in the world of screening for antibodies that if the IgE test, the skin prick test is negative, do not give up. If you are still suffering and you are still having issues, continue testing. So your next round of tests that you want to look for is an IgG, an IgM, and an IgA, okay? So the IgM is the antibody that gets produced immediately when you have a reaction to something. The IgG gets produced within 5 to 7 days, and as long as you keep having the toxin, the food, or whatever, your body's gonna continue to produce IgGs to try to attack it and to get rid of it. If you were to do an elimination diet, and for 3 weeks, say you gave up dairy and you had no dairy in your diet for 3 weeks, and you had a sensitivity to dairy, the IgG production would shut off, but your IgA would be a memory cell. And that memory cell would always remember how to produce the IgGs in case you ever got dairy in your body again. Okay, so you want to have all of them tested because you may have some random allergy to pineapple, but maybe you only eat pineapple in the summer. And if you get an allergy test in December, if you don't do the IgA testing, then it may not show up in the blood work. And so Vibrant Wellness is one of the companies that can test all of the antibodies with a blood work panel, and it's amazing. Okay, we actually did that for Frankie recently when she was having some issues about a year ago, and we found out she's actually allergic to almonds and to pineapple. And those were not showing up on a skin prick test, but when we removed them from her diet, her memory got better, her behavior got better, her rash went away, and her dry skin cleared up. So would I have contributed any of those 4 things from a rash? Yes, I probably would have contributed to an allergic reaction. Dry skin, not normally. Memory, not normally. Behavior, not normally, but that's what happened. So Definitely look at antibody testing if you're having irritable bowel syndrome issues as well. Testing levels of these antibodies in the blood can be an incredibly cool tool to help with finding things you're having adverse reactions to that you may not be mentally connecting the dots, right? And these are done through blood, okay? We're gonna dive into an elimination diet. I keep mentioning an elimination diet, so we're gonna talk about an elimination diet. The elimination diet is used as a protocol to see if you have any adverse reactions to food. It's used as a protocol to help heal leaky gut, to help diminish IBS symptoms. So you could, if you are somebody that's suffering from IBS currently, and you are at home because of the stay-at-home order, you can't get to your doctor, you could put yourself on an elimination diet to see if your symptoms go away or if they diminish. So what is an elimination diet? The elimination diet refers to the process of eliminating foods that may be sabotaging your health and to experiment with how they make you feel. And we'll talk about how you reintroduce and how you run the experiment. So it's controlled. The elimination diet takes approximately 3 weeks. Remember, 21 days that you don't eat something so that the IgG creation is shut off. And after the 3 weeks, then you start to have dissipating food allergy reactions and aversions, okay? Essentially, the goal is to bring your body to a blank state, so you're not having any diet introduction that is causing your body to have an inflammatory response. This gives you the opportunity to really recognize how each food makes you feel emotionally, how each food makes you feel physically. The common offenders as far as IBS for foods that cause the intolerance, the digestive distress that you would want to eliminate during the elimination diet. So I'm not somebody that likes to give you a list of do not eats, but these are things that you would want to take away and not eat. So you'd want to remove dairy, gluten, soy, corn, eggs, refined sugar, peanuts, red meat, all alcohol, all caffeine, anything that is hydrogenated oils or processed foods. And you're probably saying, Tiffany, what is left? What is left are whole nuts. What is left are gluten-free grains. What is left? Vegetables, fruits. What is left? A whole bunch of plant-based stuff that's not been processed. I mean, like everything that God gave us in the raw natural form that you could use to create soups and casseroles and smoothies, salads, it's all left. You can have all of that. And if you need help doing an elimination diet and you just want to order the food and you're in the Chicagoland area, I have a restaurant that is still doing meal plans, prep, and you can order a week at a time. You could order 3 weeks of food, and they would be able to cook and prepare you everything on an elimination diet. So you wouldn't have to think about it. You would just pull it out, heat it up, and eat it. Okay. And so that can make it super convenient for you. And it's not super pricey either. It's very doable. Definitely doable, and more for me, it's very like, if I'm suffering from issues, it's like, just give me whatever it's going to take. I don't care how much it's going to cost. I just want to feel better. That's what this elimination diet can do for you. And it's enabling if the food is already sitting in your fridge and you didn't have to figure out how to cook it or prepare it. So it's very much a benefit to you to be able to support a local business, but also then support your own health. Okay. And I also want you to know there's so much you can eat when you're doing an elimination diet. So just because we went through that list of do nots, there's so much left over. So don't freak out. All right. Next thing, let's talk about elimination diet friendly foods, right? So if you are somebody that's going to try the elimination diet, I'm going to take a drink. We're going to go through some foods. And if you have a pen and a paper, you can feel free to jot these down or rewatch this later. These are highly encouraged foods for you to eat during your 3 weeks while you're eliminating the inflammatory foods. Okay, you want to eat rice and quinoa and buckwheat and tapioca. You can do almond milk, coconut milk, hemp milk, rice milk, pea protein milk, okay? All vegetables except for corn. So if it's a root, if it grows on a tree, I don't care if it's a vegetable or a plant and you want to eat it and it is not corn or wheat, go for it. Whole fruits, fresh fruits, frozen fruits, and fruits that have been packed in water, not canned fruits, right? We just said whole, fresh, frozen fruits. Lean and clean animal meats if you are doing animal meat. So think about wild game, lamb, organic chicken, fresh fish. Be careful with some of the farm-raised fish. You want to try to get fresh open water fish. All the nuts, seeds, beans, and most of the legumes, the only ones you need to not eat are soybeans and peanuts. So when you're using oils, try not to use a bunch of oil to cook with. And if you are going to use oils, you want to ensure you're using coconut, avocado, or olive oil only. Okay. A lot of people reach for vegetable oil, or you think you've got an olive oil in your cabinet, but it actually has an ingredient list because it contains not just olive oil, it's got other stuff in it. And so really look through your ingredient labels. All of your herbal teas and all of your fruit teas and your medicinal teas are on the menu. Sweeteners that you want to be able to use: honey, molasses, real molasses, like blackstrap molasses, and true maple syrup, right? 100% maple syrup. And then all of your spices. So your cardamom, your garlic, your onion, turmeric, you can use all the spices you want, okay? So all of those are included on an elimination diet. If we start working together and I'm coaching you, I have printouts and you can just easily put these up, hang them on your refrigerator. We've got grocery lists for you and recipe ideas. So it becomes super easy. Okay. What are some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to an elimination diet? During the reintroduction phase, so after that initial 3 weeks, you start to reintroduce one food by itself. And I would say for 72 hours, you eat just that one before you add any others and see how you feel for 72 hours, right? So you say you were going to reintroduce eggs. So what you would do is you would pick a meal where you were just going to eat eggs by themselves. Maybe you cook up 3 eggs, however you want to cook them, scramble them, sunny side up, boiled, whatever. Cook up 3 eggs, only eat the eggs for that meal. Wait 2 to 3 hours, document how you feel, and then continue to eat eggs the next day. So you eat the food for 48 hours and then see how you feel for 72, for 3 days. If you have no adverse reactions, you have no gas, you have no bloating, you have no headaches, you have no skin rash, you have continued to be on time with your bowel movements, you're pooping twice a day, everything is great, your poop doesn't smell like abnormal smell, then I would say, great, eggs are good. You're not having any issues with them. If you are Tiffany and you did this and you had some boiled eggs after you'd been off eggs for 3 years, I went and vomited within 40 minutes. So then I knew, nope, eggs are not good for me still. But that's what you do. And it takes you quite a bit of time to put foods back in that you had taken out. But because the list of foods that you took out was what, 15? It doesn't take you forever to put them back. But if you have an adverse reaction, then you can follow up with an IgG test panel. You could follow up with a patch test panel from an allergist. Well, you know exactly what you're looking for in your testing then, okay? But you continue to follow that pattern as you bring each food in. So eat it for 2 days, eat nothing else new for 3 days, and then see how you feel and just continue to do that, okay? That's how that works. Now, we're going to talk about the 4 R's. I've mentioned the 4 R's a couple of times. I will tell you with the 4 R's, you want to do this with a practitioner. You don't want to create and start the 4 R's by yourself. You want to work with a functional medicine coach or a practitioner, functional medicine doctor, chiropractor, somebody with a functional medicine certification and license as you work through the 4 R's, okay? So we'll walk through them, not in super detail, but we will go through them so you understand them. The 4R program is administered to heal from digestive distress, from reverse gut complications, and rebalancing your gastrointestinal microbiome. It is an incredible tool to treat issues, dysfunctions, imbalances, and actual personal health needs, not just gastro, but it also will treat mental health needs and some of this other stuff. And so if you have the opportunity to leverage and do the 4 R's while you are on a stay-at-home order, you might want to do that. It might help you start to balance the stress, find your new normal. because we've all got to find a new normal. Even when this is done, our old normal is not going to work. And the 4 R's might be able to help you do that. So what are they? The first R is called remove. It's the eliminating the foods, the toxins, low-grade infections, and the oxidated stress from your body and your life. The second R is called repair. This is where you begin. Okay. This is where you begin in the repair mode. You begin to reintroduce a clean diet with the essential nutrients your body needs. And in the functional medicine world, we have functional medicine protocol diets. So whether it's a Mediterranean diet or you want a keto diet, whatever you choose, but you repair by reintroducing the clean diet, the functional protocol diet, making sure that you're getting essential nutrients that your body needs to continue to heal from the inside. Number 3 is restore. This is where you start to repopulate your gut with healthy bacteria and to restore the proper balance to your gut, right? Because some of what was causing the IBS was bacterial overgrowth or yeast overgrowth. So once you do a protocol, how do you then restore proper bacteria to the gut in the proper gut flora sequencing and balance? And the 4th R is replace. And so replace is where you start to replace some of your supplements for the ones that are truly going to have an impact. So you're going to replace potentially and add digestive enzymes, antioxidants, immune boosting vitamins to promote and sustain this healthy digestion and your function of your system. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. The new vegan yogurt got a thumbs down. It was ordered for me anyway. Side note for everybody on the welcome to home life where there are children everywhere. Okay. Where were we in my notes? Oh, we're on to the next slide. The role of probiotics, prebiotics in the restore phase. Okay, so restore phase was the number 3 phase. So probiotics themselves are live bacteria that we use to promote healthy balance in the gut. So you get probiotics from kefir, you get probiotics from kombucha, you can get probiotics from a capsule, sauerkraut, kimchi, that yogurt my daughter just tasted and told me it was thumbs down. All of those could have live living bacteria in them that would be considered a probiotic. Okay. And probiotics help with balancing the gut. So you should be doing some sort of probiotic every day. Prebiotics are a type of plant fiber and act as fertilizer and food for the probiotics. You need prebiotics in your body for the probiotic to be able to grow and to live and colonize. Prebiotics, in short, come from artichokes, garlic, onions, asparagus, wheat, which we're not going to eat, apples, and legumes. And then you can also get prebiotic powders. So I have a prebiotic powder that if you're interested, I can get you a link and a 15% off coupon that I actually add to our morning smoothie. And I really, really enjoy that prebiotic powder. Okay. If you are interested in probiotics, we've got other YouTube videos in our channel you can go and watch. Now, digestive enzymes. I love digestive enzymes. Love, love, love them. I've got whole educational things based on digestive enzymes. So let's quickly talk about this because you can definitely look on our YouTube channel and find more information and links of training around enzymes. But digestive enzymes assist in breaking down the food and aid in the nutritional absorption. The enzyme acts as a pair of scissors, cutting up the food until it's in single molecules, okay? According to a study that was published in 1999, taking digestive enzymes after a high-fat meal reduced many of the discomforts of IBS. It reduced the gas, it reduced the bloating, and it helped people feel like that not super full, you know, that feeling you get after Thanksgiving where you have to unbutton your pants, or maybe you've got it right now because you got the COVID-15 going on. I got a whole video on that as well. Don't gain 15 pounds just because you're locked inside your own home. But the digestive enzymes can help with all of that. Another study that was done in 2011 studied IBS patients' reaction to digestive enzymes compared to a placebo group. And those that were actually taking the enzymes demonstrated a significant decrease in symptoms from abdominal pain, bloating, and gas. I personally take enzymes anytime I'm eating something that's cooked. I take a lot of enzymes. If I'm going out to a restaurant, I have protease enzymes that eat gluten in case of cross-contamination. Like there's so much around enzymes, but if you are suffering from gastro issues, get yourself some enzymes. If you need to order them, get in touch with me. I'll help you order enzymes. We'll get them shipped to your house. You don't have to go out to find them, and then you can start taking them as well and get some repair happening and some restore happening for your gut. Other supplements, I'll quickly go through this. These are just suggestions. Most of these I take myself, and that's where this list is coming from. But there is studies around these as also, and from a functional medicine perspective, when they talk about IBS, this is the list of supplements that they're suggesting you take, okay? So the list would include vitamin B, omega-3, magnesium, vitamin E can help if you're getting a wheat-free vitamin E, glutathione, and some people even will tell you if you put peppermint oil on your abdomen or the outside of your stomach, it can help with relieving and relaxing the muscles in your intestinal tract, okay? Now, everybody is different. So when it comes to supplementation, please talk to your doctor. You don't want to start taking a supplement that is going to interfere with your prescriptions. So just make sure you follow up with your doctor before you start any supplements and that they review that. So detoxing, we're getting toward the end of this. When it comes to detoxification, the exposure of toxins we experience on a regular basis can build up in our system. It can weaken our immune system and cause digestive functions. It can put stress on our liver and our kidneys because they're constantly having to filter out these toxins. And so toxins can come in different forms. They can come from pesticides on our food to air pollution, depending on where you live and the smog and what's going on in your air, to water contaminants, whether it's fluoride that's been added to your water or they've added chlorine to your water. There's different things that can contaminate your water. You could also have toxic chemicals in your household products, or you could have flame retardant in your carpeting, your mini blinds, your curtains. Your pajamas could have flame retardant in them. All of that is toxic for your body. Fluoride in your toothpaste, very toxic. So get a fluoride-free toothpaste. Again, if you need suggestions, we get one at Target. It's great. Things that you can do to practice that will help with the prevention of building up toxins and help you actually detox. And we also have a pre-recorded session if you're interested in detoxification and a detox program that we offer through GF Mom Certified and Thrive Clean. But things that you can do, you can actually drink enough water, hydrate, use water filters, use air purification systems in your house, have some house plants, and use toxic-free personal care items. Like your deodorant should be free of aluminum and your toothpaste should be free of fluoride. Like you need to look into that. Your fingernail polish should be free of phthalates. And all of that is available, but you need to probably spend a little bit more money or choose a different brand so that you're getting products that are not toxic to your body and contributing to your toxic load. All right. Oh my goodness. We're almost done. So, and my hair might be that long by the time we are able to go to the hairdresser, which is quite hilarious. Oh, last but not least is stress relief, right? Managing stress is one of the most single-handedly important things you can do to support, optimize, and sustain good health. And managing stress right now, I'm just going to like speak from my heart. The notes are over there, but managing stress right now can be hard. I get it. There are so many distractions. There are so many, you guys experienced them tonight with me on this webinar of, hey mom, what about this? Hey mom, check this out. Look at this. To our phone beeping, to it vibrating on our hip, to the telephone ringing because your parent just wants to talk to somebody today, right? All of those can be great things, can be great moments, but if you are neck deep in doing something, it could be seen as a distraction and not a moment to share, you know, with a loved one. So things we have to figure out how to do. And I actually took a picture earlier of a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt because I'm working on an article for another magazine around being conscious right now and conscious parenting. But we have to realize, how do we breathe for our inner and outer part, right? How do we keep a smile on our face, but also a smile on our soul? And so some of the ways that you can do that is actually getting enough sleep, shutting your phone off, shutting the TV off, and just like taking a book and going to bed. And if you read for a few more hours, great. But if you fall asleep reading, that's even better. Do some deep breathing with yourself, with your family, like just do some breathing and exercise, right? 20 minutes a day. You can walk indoors, you can walk outdoors, you can do whatever it is, your style of exercise, just do 20 minutes. There's a whole bunch of free content now on Facebook and everywhere else of people doing dance videos and yoga and all kinds of stuff. You can do it at home. Yoga is another great way to relieve stress for the body, for the muscles. Massage. If you've got somebody you live with that is willing to give you a massage, say, yes, I receive. Thank you. I am grateful, right? Some of us might be lucky enough, not myself, but others, to live with a massage therapist. Leverage that. Love on them. Be grateful for it. Meditation, right? Whether it's a guided meditation, a spiritual meditation, or just a musical meditation, definitely those can also help you with stress reduction. Being creative, doing art, gardening, just getting messy, intentionally baking, whatever it is, finding your thing and then doing that can bring you even more stress relief. And then going outdoors, aromatherapy, there's so many things here, but find a way to manage your stress and then make it work. Just make sure you put it on your calendar. So you don't say you don't have enough time to do it. It's already planned. It's already there. It's part of your checklist. It's part of your calendar. It's part of your prompts. Maybe Alexa tells you, hey, it's time to meditate. But block it out. I'll share another story with you. So I do some corporate coaching. A lot of people know this in the lean space, in behavior coaching, along with process coaching. And one of the VPs realized that because his son was home from first grade, that their life wasn't working. It was too stressful. His wife was trying to work. He was trying to work, and it just was not working in their house. And so he made the conscious decision that from 12 to 3 during the week, 5 days a week, he was blocking his corporate calendar so he could put time in with his first grader to work on schoolwork, to put time in with his first grader to do physical education at home, to put time in with his first grader to read to him, to just hang out, to look at the clouds, whatever it is that that first grader wanted to do for those 3 hours. That was their way of making it happen. And if a vice president of a large company can say, hey, for 3 hours, I am not doing corporate work, and then he works from 3 to 6 to make up those 3 hours, everybody else can do the same. We are all at home. Most of our companies are offering flexible working schedules. Say yes, receive that flexible schedule, find some stress relief, and put it on your calendar. Okay? I want you to know that I am here to support you. I am here to help you in any way that I can, to make connections, to bring you anything that you need in this moment. You guys just have to ask, okay? I want to thank you for taking the time. This was a very long educational segment, a long educational time that we were together. I'm going to go back to the video here. But I want to thank you for taking the time with me tonight. Thank you for taking the time to join us to learn more about what is irritable bowel syndrome, what are the common causes, and what are the things you can do for your life at home to treat the symptoms. I will tell you that I found out how to treat my IBS in 2007. In 2007 is when I learned about functional medicine for the first time. It's when I learned that food could actually heal my body. And if I stopped eating macaroni and cheese and nacho chips every day because I was too tired to make real food, that my symptoms would go away and I wouldn't need 25 pharmaceutical drugs every day. I learned in 2007 that my infertility issues and the reason my first marriage ended in divorce was because my autoimmune conditions were not being treated correctly. They were being masked by me taking medication to get rid of the symptoms without getting at the problem. And when we finally started treating the problem and finding out that I had food allergies and I was allergic to eggs and I was actually really highly allergic to corn and I was, allergic to teff and sorghum and all these other random things. And I started to clean out just the kitchen first. I didn't even tackle the bathroom or the cleaning products, just the kitchen. And I started to change what I ate. I lost 60 pounds, which was cool, in about 6 months because it was all inflammation. I started to have energy. You guys, I couldn't run when I was 17 years old. I passed out on the track at school. I remember them getting an ambulance because I had completely passed out from trying to run a mile. And I was 17. And by the time I was 28, I was playing softball again. We were doing long bike rides through the park. I had went and bought a new bike, and it was kind of fun. This week, I actually got the bike out of the garage and was riding with the girls for the first couple of times this year. And things started to happen for myself because my body started to heal. Within 9 months of me just changing the food that I was eating, we were pregnant with our first daughter. We had 3 kids in 3 years. Yes, my colon ruptured after the third one. You shouldn't have 3 kids in 3 years. It wasn't a plan. That was God's plan. I had only planned on 2. But when you heal your body, amazing things happen. And I share this with you because I want you to know that I'm here. I've been there. I know what it's like to lay on the bathroom floor and cry and ask God, why am I on earth? I know what it's like to go into the bathroom at work and think like, oh my God, I need to buy another tampon or a pad because my butt just is bleeding and it's driving me crazy. And I'm afraid that if I wear white pants and it's spring, that it's going to end in like, I don't know, like awful, right? I have lived there. I have had overdoses from medication. I'm sharing so much with you right now. I have taken narcotics at one point just to get rid of the pain and had a huge reaction, and yet couldn't go to the doctor to tell them I was having a reaction because I wasn't supposed to be taking the medicine to begin with. I, at one point, was trying to drink away the pain with alcohol. That did not work. So you guys, don't think that you're alone. Don't think that you've tried everything, because there is something still there. If you're still having problems with your gut, if you're still having gas, if you're still having constipation, if you're still having diarrhea, or you're in a bathroom for an hour because the poop just won't stop coming out, you're not alone. I can talk about this stuff because it happened to me. It happened to me in the part of your life where everything is supposed to be awesome, right? You're supposed to graduate from high school, go to college, get married, and have this beautiful life. And instead, I dropped out of college at one point, ended up going back to college, walked out of a job when I was 24 because of my health, and I couldn't take it, and the stress was killing me, and I was doubled over at my desk and I just couldn't stand up, not knowing where I was going to go. And there's a plan, right? If you need somebody to just walk you through it, I'm here. Guys, we've developed several coaching programs. At one point, I had a 14-month program because it takes 14 months to regenerate your body from the inside out. We've got 6 weeks. I've got the 3-week detox. All of these are readily available. If you are suffering from IBS, if your child is suffering from IBS, let's get on the phone. Let's figure out what works for you. Let's figure out where you're at, where you need to go, or where your kid needs to go. Because I've talked to some parents recently. I talked to another one today whose child is suffering from gastro issues. This is ridiculous. Let's get their food cleaned up. They're at home right now. We have the opportunity right now to control what's going in their mouth. We have the opportunity right now to help them live on an inflammatory reduction diet, or an elimination diet, and help them figure it out. We have the opportunity right now to address it mindfully because there is no public restrooms. They're not going to school right now. They don't have to worry about what everybody else is going to think because they're at home. Help them. Talk about it. And if you don't want to talk about it and you want to put them on the phone with me, I'll talk about it with them. Because it's not somewhere to live. You don't want to live laying on the floor crying and asking God if you're just gonna, poop yourself to death. That's another story. But that also happened. Relatives of mine died from dysentery. Dysentery being they basically pooped to death. In reality, we know that now, looking back at our DNA, they had celiac disease and nobody knew how to diagnose it. So I'm wanting to help you. I have gastrointestinal doctors I work with. I have functional medicine doctors I can connect you to. We have access to this amazing testing through these laboratories now that can do awesome stuff. And medicine is changing and evolving, and there's so much research that happens. It takes about 20 years for it to hit mainstream, but it's available up front before it gets to mainstream, right? There is so much there. You just have to raise your hand and say, hey, I need some help. And if that is you, I want you to send me a message. I'm going to, on YouTube, I'll put a link for you to email me directly. But if you're watching this live, you guys email me if you want help. It's Tiffany@gfmomcertified.com. That is my personal email address. Me and I will answer you. We'll find a time on the calendar. We'll talk about it and we'll figure out what's going to work for you. Okay. Thank you again for being here tonight. I really appreciate you sticking this out, for staying here. I know some of you on the line, I can see your names, and I know that there are things that you are going through right now that nobody else has any understanding. I know that you're in pain. You are stronger than you know. We pray for you every day. And so just know that life goes on and there is a purpose for you. Okay. Have a great evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you. Let me know what you need. I'm here to help you.